commissioners, city staff, and citizens of Harrisville City and others that might be attending. We have a number of things to cover tonight, so we appreciate everyone being patient, and we will just let you know how things are going to go as we move through each item on our agenda. Should I skip right to 3? Okay. We do need to go over our consent approval. We have Planning Commission meeting minutes to review from May 13th, 2026. We do have an edit that we were discussing that we need to make on there. So, Commissioner Palmer, if you want to address that.
Yes, on page 8, I motion to grant the conditional use permit 154 for the home occupation for pet sitting services located at approximately 1206 Georgia Avenue, subject to the city planner memo dated April 2nd, 2026. Keep reading the rest of it.
We need to have the right one. Full rest of that, or is that out of it?
Yeah, that's, so we're just clarifying that your motion
Yes,
was to
my motion was to
approve, not to table.
Yes.
So,
Okay, thank you.
all the commissioners are in agreement.
Okay, so just an administrative change to make sure that we have our documentation correct. Thank you. Did we have any other questions or comments on the meeting minutes from May from our other commissioners? Okay. Then I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes if one of you would like to make that with as amended. So we'll say I make a motion that I'm not making this. I'm just saying this is what you've been saying. That we just clarify as amended.
I'll go.
Okay.
I motion to approve the minutes from May 13th, 2026 as amended.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, motion carries. Okay, item 4 will be our public hearing. We do have some procedures that we are going to follow for this. I'm just going to read them to make sure I don't miss any steps. We are going to take comments for or against Ordinance 571, an ordinance amending the official zoning map and adopting a master development agreement for certain parcels located at approximately 640 West Harrisville Road. We are going to kick this off first with a developer presentation by Randy Smith. He'll be followed by staff member Sarah Weikern, and we'll go to that point and we'll let you know when the public hearing is officially open. So, Mr. Smith, if you'd like to come join us at the podium.
Thank you. It'd be my pleasure. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. Could we pull up? You guys have the site plan? Okay, perfect.
Sorry, Mr. Smith, can I ask you just to talk directly into the microphone?
Yeah, is that better?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. So, as you guys have seen in the packet, right, we're applying for the CHA zoning for the affordable. I hate these words: affordable, attainable. Like, no word applies, right? But that's the goal, right, of this ordinance. And I guess you as a planning commission, need to see, does this align with that ordinance, and make a recommendation to the city council. So in the ordinance lists out some criteria that they would like to hit, and admittedly this plan does not hit all of those on the goal that it is hitting a certain affordability goal. And that is, in fact, in all the meetings that we've had with the city was, can we get a single family detached home under $500,000, which became the goal. And we used in the development agreement, we went straight to the census data, a 5-year rolling average of average family income for Weber County specifically, not the broader region, but just Weber County, and then rolled in typical mortgage standards, and that's kind of what got us to that price. It actually got us a little bit higher, like 537, but just see in the development agreement that we put 498,000. So that's the goal that we're working for, to build at least half of these homes at that price. And our plan currently is at that price to also include the detached garage in the rear. So in this plan, in this concept, it's not exact, but a concept plan. We have the lots at 46 feet wide, and there's a mix of two styles of homes. There's 2-stories and 1-story homes, right? Typically in the code, the 2 stories get a 50 foot and the 1 stories get a 40 foot. In order to mix the neighborhood, we set them all at 46. So some are bigger, so some are bigger than the 40 and some are less than the 50, but that allows us to kind of alternate. It makes the community make a good feel as we build this out. We also proposed a smaller road section, and in this plan it shows a 28-foot road section. Since giving you guys this plan in the last meeting, we've talked to Sarah and city engineer, and they would like a 30-foot section, and that's great. We'll do it. So yeah, we worked through that, and so we can do that. For these plans, Sarah, I guess you let me know if there's any other details that you're going to hit or versus you want me to hit. But
I'll just cover.
Okay.
You do
Perfect.
it.
Perfect. So if we can roll down to the elevations, I'll show you guys. So these are the types of homes that we're proposing to do and putting in the development agreement. That they'll be maybe not exactly this, but similar in character, size, style. So we have 3 different elevations for each the cottage homes and for the 2-story homes. Some are garage forward, some are garage back. And there will be an opportunity on the cottage homes that have the garage back that if a buyer wanted to lower their price further, they could opt to not build that garage now. So that would be an option to a buyer if they wanted to do that. So we're very excited about this. This is not new product. This is old USA. This is even old Utah. This is Sugar House. These cottage products, and it's very cool. Like highly desired now, right? People, you could live in Salt Lake, but you want to live in Sugar House. You could live in Ogden, but you want to live in Harrisville, right? So it's just a desirable product, and it's very nice. And we're working hard to hit the affordability goal. So kudos to you guys, to the council, to the staff. This ordinance is amazing. It's a big step toward helping young families get that stepping stone, hit that missing middle, be able to move through the ownership of homes, which is the #1 builder of financial independence and financial wealth is owning your home. It's unbelievable. So we're super excited about it. I'm happy to answer any questions, address any more details. Sarah and I worked really closely on this, and she's got it down pat. And yeah.
What's the square footage are you recommending in these homes?
I'd have to pull up my notes. So the cottage homes are 30 feet wide. I'm trying to think of what the depth is. I don't know off the top of my head, but I can pull that up right here, and maybe after we go through the rest, I'm happy to come up and give you better information on that. So actually, the cottage ones, I do know that they're 30 by 42. They're 1,200 square feet ish, plus or minus.
I'm going to pause you right there for just a minute. We're going to continue with the presentation from both of you, and during the discussion is when we'll address more questions, just so we can get all the information.
Yeah.
So,
That was the intent of my question.
Yes.
Is to get more information out.
yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I do know that the cottage ones are about 1,200 square feet, and then these are larger. No basements in this area, high groundwater, right? So yeah, we can provide more details. So yeah, we can save questions, or I'm happy to answer anything. Is there any information I can provide before we go to the next phase?
I don't think so right now. Are we fine with that? And did you need any other details for him, or did you want to continue with?
I'll just do my staff presentation.
Okay.
I'll do my staff presentation, and then we can move on with the public hearing and address any questions after that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Randy.
Yeah, you're
We'll
welcome.
call you back up if we need to.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Sarah, if you'd like to continue.
Sure, so just in reviewing this proposal, a little background. A few months ago, we passed what's called the Housing Affordability Overlay Zone. This is something that the state wanted to see in our communities to allow for higher density in residential areas. So this proposal is in the A1 zone, which is a residential zone in our on our zoning map, and so it qualifies for us to consider an overlay for this affordable, not affordable, attainable housing project. And I think it's important for us to distinguish that our when we're trying to hit an affordability target, we're looking at townhomes, we're looking at apartments. In working through the Haas ordinance, we wanted to see detached single-family homes. So they are not at the bottom price range. We wanted something in the middle. And we were hoping to see what was the lowest price we could get for that detached single-family home, brand new. Obviously, I don't know about you, most of the single-family home or first-time home buyers are probably not going to buy a brand new home. But as we transition through housing, we wanted to see this product so that people could move from those smaller housing options to something single and detached without an HOA. So that's the goal of the Haas, is to see a different product. So we asked the developers that come in with an overlay zone request to bring half of the homes in that rezone request at that, it's 120% AMI of the region around it. So the 498,000 is a conservative estimate of someone who makes 120% the average in Beaver County. That's where those numbers came from. So Randy's gone over exactly what the proposal is. There will be a first right of refusal period for Harrisville residents who do not currently own a home, first-time home buyers, and critical workforce employees. He's talked through some of the exceptions to the standards that he'd like to request in order to meet his affordability target. We do allow for someone to propose or request deviations. However, it's up to the Planning Commission to decide if to evaluate whether the proposed deviations are justified with the end product and whether that is something they want to see in the community. As staff, we believe that there is a benefit to this project in the community. We asked about increasing the roadway width to 30 feet based on the city engineer's request. We will possibly look at front yard setbacks. That's something the engineer wanted to look at, but that is something that could be determined after this meeting with the city engineer. In looking to the development agreement, we want to make sure there were no further obligations to the city or any of the people in this community for reimbursement of public utilities. So that's something in part of the recommendations to make sure that that's excluded from the development agreement. Something else, the Haas ordinance states that we would like to see certain concept plans before city council. Right now, we're at the planning commission level, and that might be something we want to look at requiring in the future. But at this point, he has filled what the Haas ordinance has requested for planning commission level. So the city, as staff, we are interested in housing of this type, but it is up to planning commission to decide if it meets the intent of the Haas code and how you feel that meets the goals of Harrisville City as a whole. But that is staff's recommendation.
Thank you. And do you have any staff questions before we open the public hearing from commissioners? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing from one of my fellow commissioners.
Yeah, I will make a motion to open the public hearing for or against ordinance 571.
Okay, anything good?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, just a reminder to all of our attendees, when you comment, please come up to the mic, state your name and address, and we'd like you to keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. And And anyone is welcome to come start with comments.
So, my name is Warren Child, it's my wife Catherine. We live at 664 West Harrisville Road, right there, next to the detention pond, which is a big problem for us. We have the only single family home that is adjacent and borders to this property. Since we purchased the property last year, we've experienced severe recurring water intrusion into our crawl space every time the adjacent fills water. Every time. For 2 days. And that's under responsible care. Marv's taking care of that property today, and he is on top of it. So he's responsibly flood irrigating that, and I still get 2 days worth of water in my crawl space. To date, it's cost us tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars to repair damages that have occurred over years and years. That's not going to help at all. I'm the only person that's going to affect. And it is in the, I'm sorry, I'm straying off my notes. It's in the only spot that is where the water slopes. All the water and all the properties, everything will test, goes southwest. That detention pond is coming in my house. No way around it. And I can, y'all are welcome to come anytime Marv waters regional property, come on by. Every 20 to 30 minutes, you'll hear my sump pumps going off. Both sides. I had a general contractor spend 3 months in my crawl space, rebuilding, putting channels in there to channel the water to the sump pumps, and I am into $500,000 so far. Everybody will tell you about that. Everybody also that waters around me, every time they flood irrigate, the water table rises. All of us know that. It's all just part of being where we are. There's no way to get around that. This development is not going to fix or solve that. The water table is still coming up. The water table is still going to go southwest for all of us. Norma gets my runoff. Her whole entire pen gets flooded every time I water. Michelle next to her gets all of what Norma doesn't get. Cliff next to her gets everything that she doesn't get. Jay gets everything that they don't get. So we all fill it every single time, every single day, once a week. Pardon me. I guess I'll just close it. For these reasons, I'd respectfully request that this planning committee deny this rezoning. Or, at a bare minimum, the reason that pond's there is because they don't want to bring a filter. They can change the slope of that ground. It's there for a reason. That's because that's where all the water goes naturally. That's why it's there. That's the cheapest spot to put the detention pond. Right next to my house.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Planning Commission members. My name is J.B. Hunnan. I live at 696 West Harrisville Road. One concern that deserves serious consideration is how this proposed neighborhood will coexist with active agricultural operations surrounding it. These farms are not parks or vacant land. They're working properties. Farming does not happen only between the hours of 8 in the morning and 5 in the afternoon. Harvesting often takes place late into the night and when weather and crop conditions demand it. Irrigation runs around the clock. The equipment operates early in the morning and often late into the evening and sometimes all night long. Livestock require attention at all hours. Animal and pest management practices are a normal part of agricultural life. For generations, these activities have been accepted as part of living in this area. Farmers have enjoyed the liberty to work their land and care for their animals without conflict because neighbors understood and respected that way of life. My concern is not that future residents would intentionally create problems. Rather, it is human nature that people moving into high-density subdivision may not expect tractors operating after dark, irrigation water flowing through the fields at night, odors associated with livestock, dust during planting and harvest, smoke from fires for irrigation, ditch control, lights from equipment, people working on neighboring properties at unusual hours. Over time, these differences and expectations often create pressure on the very agricultural operations that have existed first. Complaints begin, restrictions are sought, rights and freedoms of farmers are gradually diminished, not because they have changed, but because the character of the neighborhood around them has changed. We would ask ourselves whether it is fair to place new residents in the middle of a working agricultural area and then expect either side to sacrifice the lifestyle that they have chosen. The open fields, the farms, and the freedoms that accompany them are part of Harrisville's identity. They're part of what makes us, part of what makes our city unique. Growth is important, but compatibility matters. We should encourage development that respects existing agricultural communities rather than creating unnecessary conflicts that future generations will inherit. The question before us is not simply whether 30 homes can fit on 5 acres. The question is whether this type of development belongs in the middle of an active farmland and whether we are going to risk the rights, traditions, and liberties that have defined this area for generations. Thank you for your time and service.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nicely said.
Lene Dodd, my husband Rod, live at 679 West Harrisville Road. Built our home and moved here 45 years ago. Since then,
We'll restart. Continue.
Since then, a significant portion of Harrisville consisted of 1 acre and larger parcels that were legally zoned and suitable for agricultural. Today, most of that land has disappeared. And every new development proposal pushes us closer to losing the rural character that has made Harrisville unique. This issue is about much more than a single field or a single development. Once agricultural land is converted to dense housing, it never again returns to agricultural or farming. Every decision we or you make today shapes the kind of community future generations will inherit. The fellow who spoke first talked about the mandate of the state for affordable housing. There's a great deal of affordable housing going in right across the highway at the old Ben Lomond Golf Course. A great deal. I can't help but think that that doesn't satisfy the state's requirement for Little Harrisville as far as affordable housing goes. Most importantly, this is about the wishes of the people who already live here. Residents consistently speak of the things that they value most about Harrisville: the small town atmosphere, the open fields, the horses, the sense of community, and the connection to our agricultural heritage. These are not inconveniences to be replaced. They are assets worth preserving. Thank you.
Thank you.
While we're waiting for our next comment, those of you that are standing, you do have some seats scattered about and in the front. If you choose to come sit down, you're welcome to.
Hello. My name's Michelle Ensign. I live at 670 West Harrisville Road. I've lived there for 3 years. I bought my parents' home. We lived there for 20 years. I passed away. And I took over and bought their home. And when I did that, before I did that, I lived away. I lived in Salt Lake. I lived a lot of different places. And to come back home was kind of a letdown for me. I felt like I wasn't going forward in life to do that. And once I came back and we started to fix the property up, I loved the place. I know why my dad bought it. He bought it because he had neighbors were close, but not that close. I look out my back window and I see the mountains, and he wanted to be, when he passed away, he wanted to be put in a paper bag, a Walmart or a Wingsguard sack, and thrown off the mountain because he loved it so much. Since I've lived there for 3 years, I think I've come to a meeting of rezoning around where I live many, many times. I feel like Harrisville kind of has an identity crisis right now. We've had manufacturing changed from the agricultural to manufacturing around where my house is. We've had many of the multi-families homes have come in, and I don't know how it's so, and then we've got the agricultural too, so we've got everything in our backyard. We've got manufacturing, but we have children that want to live around that place, and then we've got people that want to have their horses and their agriculture going on, and it just gets closer and closer to, I don't see that its cohabitation is really a nice fix right now, especially where I live. I want to ask you carefully consider the long-term consequences of allowing dense housing developments to replace agricultural land in Harrisville. This issue is bigger than one field or one project. One farmland is covered with streets and houses that's almost never returned to agricultural. Every acre we lose today is gone for future generations. The people who live here love Harrisville because it's different. They value the open fields, the horses, the small town atmosphere, and the sense of community that comes from living in a place that still remembers its agricultural roots. Those things are not empty spaces waiting to be filled. They are part of what makes Harrisville special. Utah already has very limited cropland, and Weaver County has seen significant losses in farmland in recent years. Small farms make up large portions of the agricultural base. If we fail to protect them, we are slowly giving away something that cannot be replaced. Housing is important and growth is inevitable, but growth should be balanced. It should respect existing neighborhoods and agricultural zones, and residential and property owners have relied upon for decades.
We're out of time.
Okay. And one thing, it's quite a stretch to compare Salt Lake City and Sugar House to Ogden and Harrisville.
Shanna Edwards, 1068 North Harrisville Road. I'm remembering back to when this first came up, and it was called Ordinance 562. And the Planning Commission held a public hearing, and that was on March 12th of 2025. And the public came and expressed their opposition to it, and the Planning Commission tabled it with the idea that, well, they gave us the idea that they were going to send it forward with a negative recommendation to the City Council. Well, then, the next thing we knew, the City Council discussed it on November 18th and that same year, and they tabled it and called a work session with the Planning Commission and the City Council. And they got together and discussed this, and then the next thing we knew, on December the 9th, the City Council had a work session before the regular meeting on that same day, and before we knew it, it was passed. And it's the overlay ordinance for the general plan, which doesn't involve zoning. It lets the City Council or whenever there's a patch of acreage, they can determine to put these things in, no matter whether it's agriculture, residential, wherever. And so I'm confused about this ordinance number you're giving it now, because I don't recall there being a public hearing on that. But I would suggest that anything under this 562 or this ordinance, that your number you're giving it now, that you suspend any projects that come in under that ordinance, and give the citizens a chance to go approach the City Council and repeal the ordinance. Thank you.
I'm Amanda Chester. I live at 931 North Harrisville Road, and I purchased the Knight's home when they moved out about 3 years ago. I am probably a representation of more of the, not younger, but newer people moving into the neighborhood, and the reason why I chose where I wanted to live was because of the atmosphere that it provided. I would make my husband drive down North Harrisville Road 3 or 4 times a week before we moved into the home that we did, because I love the transformation that it brought. I like living in the country and not being too far away from the city. I personally work in commercial real estate and development. So I have questions that pertain to more of the zoning and the legal right to take away the A1 application. An HZOA zone requires 5 acres. This is a 4.95 acre lot, not 5 acres. So it is not one that actually applies. It also requires to use a residential zone, and this is an agriculture zone. You may want to overlay it, but it still doesn't meet the 5 acre requirement. Everybody knew when they purchased these properties in an agriculture community that they did have rights, but they also had limitations. When they purchased these properties, they are limited to the standards of A1, and I'll leave that with you.
Nope.
Sean Douglas, 628 West Harrisville Road. I'm not here to oppose affordable housing. My concern is the project is being proposed in a wrong location with the wrong development pattern and without demonstrating public benefits. The property is designated rural residential on the future land use map and is zoned A1 agricultural. The city's general plan envisions large lots, agricultural preservation, and low-density development in this area. Yet this proposal will place approximately 31 homes on less than 5 acres. 5 acres is required for the overlay zone. This is not rural residential development. This is urban-style subdivision placed in an area the city has planned to remain rural residential. It also has all the characteristics of spot zoning, if you know what spot zoning is. The ordinance requires comparison plans which were not provided. The project also does not comply with several of the overlay zone requirements. The concept plan includes lots smaller than the minimum lot size. The property falls short of the required 5 acre minimum project size. The project is not in a residential zone as required, and the plan does not meet the park connectivity requirement that's required in the zone. At the same time, the proposal seeks reduced setbacks, reduced road widths, and reduced right-of-ways, all concessions from the city with no return to the city. Utah law and Harrisville's moderate income housing plan defines moderate income households as those earning no more than 80% of the area median income. This development agreement is using 120%. The plan also asks for concessions based on this. The affordability benefit is measured against a different and less restrictive standard than the one used by the city in identifying its modern income housing needs. The 30-day time frame for sale is unreasonable, as the average time to sell a new home in Weber County is between 30 to 45 days. This will allow the developer to avoid the lower sale price and sell at a higher price. The project is located on a dead-end roadway that has no connectivity to the surrounding street network. By city development standards, the road would require 2 temporary turnarounds that are deed restricted. It is located in an area the city has not identified in any of their planning documents for higher density housing. The city has identified more appropriate locations for attainable housing near commercial corridors, employment centers, and transportation routes. The following findings of fact are why you should deny this property rezone. The property does not meet the 5 acre requirement. After the recent boundary line adjustment, the property is even smaller than what the county shows, and the county plat shows less than 5 acres. The property is not in a residential zone as required. The plan does not meet the park connectivity requirement. Some of the lots are smaller than the required 4,000 square feet. The ordinance requires comparisons. None were provided. All of these are required items, not negotiable items. They all say they're required. For those reasons, I respectfully ask the Planning Commission to recommend denial of the proposal. Rezone. Thank you, and I appreciate you.
As we're waiting for our next comment, we are taking a lot of notes. We're also taking minutes from this meeting so that everything can be reviewed after the public hearing, just as an FYI to the public.
My name is Kurt Niger. I'm on 530 West Harrisville Road. I've been to several conferences with the city leagues talking about micro-housing, how they're successful, how they work. I'm not opposed to affordable housing. I think it's actually important. However, the key ingredient in all of those discussions and conferences that I've gone to is planning. And I'm thankful that we have a planning commission. I think the whole point of this is planning. And planning is not a space is available, let's throw it in there. It's what is the design and what do we want to accomplish in an area. Throwing a 31 development in the middle of an agricultural area in the middle of a road does not sound like planning to me. Unless you have other, how are you going to impact the other areas and homes around that? Are you going to destroy those? And, as we increase the population in those areas, you're going to have an increased impact. Or are you dealing with one road widening? As we get more residents on there, will there be additional, infrastructure increases that need to be in place to provide for the additional population? And as we do that, we're going to, then you're going to look at either purchasing land, eminent domain, whatnot, to get that infrastructure in place for future planning. So my recommendation is, as a planning commission, is what is your plan? What makes sense? An available parcel is not planning. And that's my thought on that is, it can be considered, and which I appreciate the consideration and consider your expertise. But do focus on what is the community, what is the community values, and is this appropriate? Most of them, again, is there local businesses that these families can walk to? I don't see anything in that area that's even walkable. And so what commercial, what is a designated urban plan or rural plan, and kind of adhere to that with your overlay and try to make it a working process, something that's thought out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is David Anderson. I live at 911 North Harrisville Road. During the campaign, I was out listening to our new city council, and one of the comments made was about taxes. Residential housing does not provide sufficient tax to support a community. Retail is necessary, or the alternative is that all of us that live here will again suffer a huge tax increase. We need to look at retail, something to do. I don't necessarily want you to put another Walmart right here, but there has to be thought for that provision. Number two, where are we going to get the water and the electricity, the infrastructure for this development? It's already been brought up that we have irrigation issues. This is definitely a rural community. I've lived here for quite a long time. We put a development right down behind my house. We made concession on the A1 zoning there, and we put in a number of homes and considered that they would use common space as that would qualify them to be in the A1 zoning. And that's going to be a little problem. That's between North Street and my backyard. Number three, and this comment was made by our developer. If you live in Salt Lake, you want to live in Sugar House. I need you all to know that I lived in Sugar House. I moved out of Salt Lake and out of Sugar House to Harrisville because it was nothing like Sugar House. I moved here because it is a rural community, a quiet community, and a wonderful place to live and raise children. This high-density housing that you are proposing, or that has been proposed, is not what we need at this point. Put it over on the golf course. Thank you for your time.
Mike Dalpas, 467 West Chuck Lane. So when I built my house, they required me to, Chuck Lane was just a 20-foot driveway. They required me to give them 40 feet to the city, and we did. So the city has 60 feet there now. I'm concerned about this road for safety. I'm concerned about it for Brian and his crews. What are they going to do for snow removal? How's a fire truck going to get down there? None of it makes sense to me. The last planning commission meeting that I came to, they said, I'm concerned that our kids aren't going to be able to grow up and buy a house in Harrisville. And my thinking is, we keep doing stuff like this, they're not going to want to live in Harrisville. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
My name is Steve Everett. I live at 616 West Harrisville Road. And when I bought my place, it was 1 house, 1 acre. It's been that way for many, many years. And I'd like to see it stay that way because we don't need a development like that in our pastures. It's not right. There's plenty of places in Harrisville to build something like that. By the golf course would be great. And there's many other places you could build this, but we don't need it in our pastures. Thank you.
Oh yeah, reset the clock, please, just in case. I'm Kenny Loveland, 1103 North Harrisville Road. I've lived in Harrisville for 45 years. I have none of the, I just heard about this meeting just a few days ago. I don't have all the specifics. All I know is that this is the wrong place for this development. It does not fit the neighborhood, it does not fit the community. It needs to go somewhere else. 30 homes in there is just a ridiculous thing. I hope all of you as planning commission members have taken time to go down and look at where this is. I've talked to the neighbors down there. I know all of them are here tonight, or a lot of them are here tonight. I would highly encourage you to think about that. You see how many people are here. I know usually at the planning commission you don't have this many people. So it tells you what the citizens are feeling right now. This is totally the wrong place for this. And I have to agree with Dave. This is not Sugar House. We don't want it to be Sugar House. We want it to be Harrisville. It's been a rural community for so long. We have plenty of attainable housing coming in over the golf course to meet the needs of whatever the state is requiring. We don't need to do this. Also, it always pains me when somebody new comes in and buys property and then wants everything changed to what they want. This gentleman who's proposing this development, he knew when he bought that property that it was zoned A1, and it wasn't supposed to be made for 30 homes. And so I hope you take that into consideration, and thank you for your time and for your service. I appreciate it.
We're pretty new here. We live at 1475 North Highway 89. And what is wrong with this picture? This feels like stuffing a square peg in a round hole.
Ma'am, sorry, can you state your name, please?
My name is Geraldine Kopel.
Thank you.
Koupal. And we just left a very dense area of Southern California after 31 years. We're from the Dakotas originally. And this is what belongs, doesn't even belong there. It impacts life for everybody. And so we just bought a little over a year ago, and it just feels like a bait and switch. We moved here, as many of our neighbors that we've met have said, they've either relocated in Harrisville or lived here forever, and we moved to that area for a reason, looking for the rural that we grew up with. We loved Southern California for a very long time, but this is happening on steroids there. They are a cautionary tale. We can testify to that. Thank you for listening to me. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Mike Iverson, 558 West Harrisville Road. I think it's been said pretty obviously why we all moved to Harrisville in the first place, right? So I don't need to go over that. For 30 years I've been coming to these type of meetings and have just been concerned that we are losing the very thing that we all love about Harrisville, why we came here. And at every one of these meetings that I've attended, there's been sort of this balance that has been presented where they've said, well, we have to worry about our future and housing for our children, future residents, and then balancing that against the wishes of the residents to retain a very rural feel, small town feel to Harrisville. And I always hear the word compromise, you know, well, let's make some compromise. But in 30 years of attending these meetings, I haven't seen any true compromise. I've seen no instances where any land has been changed from another zoning to A1. And has anybody else?
No.
No, we're not seeing anything go the other direction. So it's not compromise, it's just loss is what we're talking about here. And so that concerns me. I think at one point you have to sit down and just say, okay, we have compromised enough and we have to look toward other issues, one of which is water. We all know what's happening along the Wasatch Front as far as water is concerned. All the water's coming from the east. What guarantees do we have of even being able to guarantee new residents anywhere along the Wasatch Front that they're going to have water, yet alone this little high-density housing development? But just look into your hearts and understand that all of us are here for this community, and it is a rural community, and we love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Janet Marble. I live at 930 North Harrisville Road. I was just sitting back there thinking, I lived here for over 60 years. And I watched my dad at 10 years old develop what was called Night Lane, 325 West. He got a lot of pushback at that point. He had over 5 acres to develop 8 homes on those lots. I just think because he had that pushback, it opened my eyes to what's going on here. What he had to do is at the end of that lane, open it up just in case there was another community or development to happen, or another side development, because there was a lot of fields. And that's when the Cove come in and was placed there with 23 homes. I just think it's way too much to only have one lane going through and not a facility to come somewhere else out. A lot of pushback should be done on this development. Just because it looks good on paper doesn't mean it works. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Randy Beck. I live at 689 West Harrisville Road. My father built our house and we bought it from him after he passed away because we loved Harrisville. I've lived all over the country and this is where I feel at home. And since I've been here, I've watched some things that have just shook me. The widening of the road and this. Reed's property, cramming all these houses in this little lot, and it is little. And it's going to turn into a rental property, is what it's going to turn into. There's not going to be any affordable housing. It's going to be a giant rental property, and it's poorly designed. Watching what Warren and Catherine went through with their water is just appalling. And they got it all fixed, and now we're going to put a pond next to their house. And we're going to flood them out again. And they're going to have to pay, they had to pay so much money. If you would have seen it, you wouldn't believe it. And this is a farmland, this is a farm community. That's what we moved here for. That's what we own our property for. It's sad Reed passed away, but that's what Reed would have wanted. He wouldn't want to see his property turned into this. These people just want to make money. They knew that this was an agricultural zoning. They had planned to put 5 homes in here. You know, we are all against that. Now they want to put 30 plus homes in here, and they're stacked on top of each other. In our beautiful community, we're going to have to deal with this. And I think the residents of this community deserve to have their heritage protected by our elected officials and our planning commission. They should understand that, and I hope you do. I really do. The road was hard enough for us, and now this. And then what happens when other people pass away? Are we going to cram more of this in our fields? And then our town's going to go away. And then we're going to be just like Sugar House. I don't know if any of your family related, but it's disgusting. And so Salt Lake, that's why we live here. And that's why we chose to raise our families here and where we want to live. And this is just wrong and it needs to be stopped. If they want to put 5 homes on here, that's one thing, but this is ridiculous. So thank you for your time.
Council members. My name is Trevor Buchanan at 696 West Harrisville Road, and I would not be here if there was not a problem. I'm just a young guy. You guys talk about how our kids are going to want to live here, and I've loved Harrisville, but I told my parents if this gets approved, I'm moving, because it's no longer the city that we love. Because if we do this, then it puts a brick wall into the very thing that brings us together. Right? I look around this room, I know almost everybody in here because that's who we are. We're a small community where we watch out for each other and we're all here to support each other. And I don't see a single, okay, there's a couple, but not very many happy faces in here. I don't know if any of these residents are happy about this, but I highly doubt it because this is not what we want. This is not Harrisville. There's been development on our road and that I can understand, but I think that it's been very reasonable up until this point. 1 or 2 houses I can understand. This I cannot. And as has been said before, there's lots of things about this that don't make sense. And the first one is this is in the middle of a bunch of pastures. Not just 1, not 2,
Well, every side, all the way down the road, there's pastures, there's farmers. And that land, it gets used. I'm out there often, and I see the neighbors out there often. It gets used, it gets farmed. And that stuff doesn't smell good. You think these people want to go out there and smell the horse manure that we're plowing through our fields every day? It doesn't smell pretty. You know, that's not what they want. This is Harrisville. This is our small town. In the last 10 years, Weber County has lost almost 20% of its farmland. And if you look at the statistics, 48% of that farmland is on lots that are under 9 acres. If we start taking that away, there's not going to be anything left that we want. We're going to turn into Sugar House. I know, I like Sugar House. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Jan Douglas. I live at 628 West Harrisville Road.
Sorry, what was your first name again?
Jan Douglas. I think some of my concerns are resale value. When you're talking a 1,200 square foot home, that only fits a certain family size, to be honest. It was mentioned that more than likely it would not be a first-time home buyer. These are, you know, they're $500,000. They had mentioned that it would more than likely be, you know, someone that's maybe into their second home. Well, they've already lived in a small home and they're looking for a bigger home. The price range of these homes and for the size that they are, and even it was mentioned that some of them may not even have a garage, how appealing is that? You get these people in here with those kind of houses, you figure, I mean, I work in a lending industry, what's the mortgage payment on a $500,000 home? It's not very affordable for these young couples that can come in that can fit in that size of a home. And your older couples, they're not going to want to be in a 2-story home or anything. Another one of my points is, I think it looks out of line. You look at the road, and it's a rural road. All of our homes are there, and we've all got a decent-sized pasture behind us. And all of a sudden, you're going to come in and put a little rinky-dink subdivision with 31 homes that are like little cracker boxes. Another thing is our property would butt up against the one side. So there, from my understanding, there's like 17 lots. Well, we have several horses. Our family has grown up that. They live to hunt. They do all these things. We raise the horses. We process our hay so that we can have a rural type lifestyle. Well, you get all these people from the city that want to come, you know, in here. They have no idea. I've got my horses out there. They're dumping yard clippings over. They don't understand what it's like to live in a rural area and what they can do with harming my animals that are there. I don't know. I just think that you should consider it. I don't think that it looks good for the city. And when you get a bunch of vacant homes, what's that going to do? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Josh Peart. I live at 480 Chug Lane. I have heard about the difficulty that it was to build my home. I think my house is one of the newer ones that is on Harrisville Road. One thing I'm grateful for is that it is still over an acre. So it has forced us to kind of learn the lifestyle that it takes to live in Harrisville, of having to manage the land. And it's taken many neighbors who've come out and helped me understand. And luckily, that is one of the things we fell in love is when we showed up to look at the house, we didn't care too much about the house. We think the builder did a pretty crappy job. But the land is what sold us. Having the fields around us, having the community is what brought us to want to live in Harrisville. And so I think if we were to bring this many homes in at once on such small lands, it is almost impossible for them to understand and appreciate what it takes to live in agricultural land. And all of the things that are associated with it, and to learn to reach out to your neighbors to get help with your land. Or, you know, if I don't have a tractor, but my neighbors have offered tractors, and at this point we have 6 goats that we love and we cherish, and, you know, and so if they're moving into these lands, they're not going to have that appreciation. And so I just want to say that as we think about the spirit of Harrisville and what drew me here, I don't think it's going to be passed on to the people who live in this type of development. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin Barble, 930 North Harrisville Road, 45 years in Harrisville, married Harrisville girl. I grew up partly country and partly city, Sunset Clinton area, watched it change, and it started the same way we're talking about right now in Clinton. It totally changed. It's a totally different community. We love our little city. We've had amazing neighbors, but I'm trying to be nice about it. It's not realistic. It really isn't. You know, we just saw a change in council and positions because the city wanted something different. And I realize many of you are appointed to your positions. However, it's the people in the city that should be making choices, and you should be backing them on what they want. I understand we want development. My question is, the governor suggests, the governor recommends, other than money associated with discounts and all these different things, why do we have to listen to the governor? Utah's the fastest growing development around. And it's also one of the most expensive for that purpose. We always think we gotta do it now because we gotta get the money, we gotta get the deal. I say just relax. We don't have to do it right now. We can view it later. And I'd like to see my city, and everyone else who lives here, city, remain how it is, with only needed improvements. Not someone else's dream. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Norma Wakayama, 668 West Harrisville Road, right next door to Warren and Catherine. And the only thing that comes to mind for me, I'm very nervous, is that when we purchased our property 17 years ago, we were told if it was a greenbelt property, it would always be agricultural. And I find this extremely upsetting because we moved here because it was agricultural. We want to live here because it's agricultural. And to think that it's going to change makes me very sad.
Would anybody like a tissue? Thank you for being courageous and coming up and sharing your point of view.
We appreciate all the comments we've heard so far. We're going to do a last call. If any of you still would like to comment, please come up to the podium.
You want to just hand me a tissue now? Mark Farrell. I do live at 2470 North, 750 West, but I own property that is on West Harrisville Road.
and I just couldn't sit there anymore. Sorry. There's a lot of friends here. There's a lot of neighbors here. And with the things that are going on in Harrisville and the impact, and they're impacting me as far as myself, they're impacting the neighbors along West Harrisville Road with the expansion of the road and the widening of the road. And I've been going through some things without going into detail, but to try to just make sure that things are right. And I just feel that the city, the planning commission, the city council, they hear both sides of maybe what is going on. But I'm going to ask you to really look into this, really dig deep, look into this, look at what has been said tonight. Look at the laws. Let's just look at what laws we have. Are we doing the right thing? I farm. I cherish the ground. I want to keep farming. I own property along West Harrisville Road. We get developers that call us once a week to buy our property. They're not making any more ground. But my point here is that whatever we do, whatever you do as a planning commission, as residents also of Harrisville, let's make sure that we plan and do the things correctly. I understand that we got to bring more homes in. I have kids, they have to go somewhere. They're living on some other farm ground that they gave up for housing. But let's just make sure that we're doing it, that we're going by the laws, we're abiding by those. And my theory is they're not making any more ground, so let's build these houses as high as we can. A lot of people don't like that. But if we just look at what we have, make sure that we are doing the right thing. They've taken my property that I have and put it as open space and public use. I didn't like that. The golf course, you've taken that was open space and public use, and I'm out of time, but I want to thank you very much for what you have.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. Thanks for taking comments. My name's Daryl Copel. Gerald's my wife. You've heard from her. We're from South Dakota. We both grew up in tiny towns. I grew up in a town of about 350 people, very rural, surrounded by farmland. I chose a career that took us to Southern California, where we lived like sardines. And my wife already commented on that. We had literally, I'm 6'2", I could reach out and touch my neighbor's house, okay? That's what this type of development reminds me of, and it doesn't belong in Harrisville. When we chose to come this way to Utah, I still work in a career down in Roy, north of Grumman, but we wanted to find something rural because that's what our roots are. That's what we enjoy. We have horses. We have 5 acres, 4.95 acres, excuse me. I worry also about what city people that don't know what agriculture is move into an area like this and they see horses across the fence. Have you thought about the liability that puts on us as homeowners, or property owners? Those kids wander into the pasture, something happens. Who's going to get sued? Is it going to be the city? Who's responsible? Ultimately, it's your decision that's putting us in that type of environment. I think about, some of the things I've heard tonight from my neighbors that, there are thoughts that I resonate with. One comment I don't resonate with, I think horse manure is lovely. I think it's from heaven. So please consider, right, how many arguments in favor of this development have you heard tonight? Thank you for your time.
last call, since we've had a couple more people last time, in case there is anyone else that would like to share a comment with us.
They're just slow getting up.
Okay, without anyone approaching the podium, again, we appreciate all of your comments and discussion. I'd like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing. From one of my fellow commissioners.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Good job. Okay, item 5 on our agenda tonight is our discussion on this ordinance that we've been reviewing with our public hearing. So ordinance 571, our ordinance potentially amending the official zoning map and adopting a master development agreement for certain parcels located at approximately 640 West Harrisville Road. Do we want to do our discussion right now, or should we go over more, like, specifically the memo from June 4th? Do we have?
I've gone over.
Do we have anything else on it? Okay.
No, you can ask me questions regarding what the public has brought up, but I've covered the places I'm going.
Great, thank you. Okay, so as per Ms. Weikern, she addressed those earlier in the staff report. So what questions do we have right now that we can follow up with staff about?
Why is it being pushed? Like, it feels like it's being pushed hard and fast. Is there a particular reason?
Yes, so because we have this ordinance that allows, it meets the criteria of the Haas ordinance. It does meet that criteria to be presented to the Planning Commission for consideration. It is our obligation to hear these. We as staff do see, we see one part of the population here today, an important part that we need to hear from. What we hear from staff is also the business owners in the area that are very concerned with, like currently we do have a lot of vacant commercial properties that have zero interest, very difficult time because of the low density of Harrisville. So that's the side we're seeing, that's what we're considering that we feel is advantageous, but obviously there is a balance.
Thank you.
Question on the briefing you provided. You said that the A1 is considered residential and could...
Yes. So an agricultural zone, especially an A1 zone, is a residential zone that allows agricultural uses. It's not an agricultural zone that forces you to use it agriculturally. In any case, it is designated a residential zone within Harrisville. So it is possible to apply for this overlay in this area.
Thanks for that clarification.
So the 1 acre minimum,
the request is to change, the overlay would change the density of the zone from 1 acre to whatever the Haas ordinance or whatever is approved through the ordinance. That is the request.
It was brought up a couple times about a few ways that this development might not meet the requirements of the Haas ordinance. I'm just wondering if you had any feedback on that.
So I covered those in my memo, specifically, the parks in connection, the concept plans. The Haas ordinance requires that's presented to City Council. We're at Planning Commission right now. And if that's something you'd like to see at this stage, we can consider that for future applications. But at this stage, it has met the requirement. The ordinance also, we stated standards we'd like to see, but we also did give the provision that they're allowed to present a development that does not meet all the standards, but it would be, whether they meet the standards or not, they do have to convince you as a planning commission that this is desirable and what you'd like to see in Harrisville City.
And a reminder for those in the room too that may not know, planning commission is a recommending body. Like, we do make recommendations to city council for most of what we do, really, for legal and other implications.
I do want to bring up safety came up a lot with this very narrow road. It doesn't seem like the best idea, because if you don't have, it doesn't look like there could be any street parking. Like, it doesn't look like a lot of things, but if an actual emergency happened, are those people really going to get the help?
Concern about that from staff?
So those are things that are considered. We have already talked to Public Works about this, and we've talked to the fire department, and it'll go through a further review, but preliminarily, they did the T at the end. The fire department is comfortable with that T for their turnaround. And as far as it being wide enough to park on both sides of the street, well, in the winter, street parking is not allowed. And but during the other months, yes, it is wide enough to have street parking on both sides and 2 lanes of traffic. There are narrower residential roads in Harrisville currently. State requirements are actually lower.
So our city works is for snow removal things, so far at least, seems okay.
Yes, especially where in the winter months, no on-street parking is allowed. So the place where normally there would be on-street parking, the snow, we've discussed it with Public Works, so that has been considered. Really, the city standard is 32 feet of asphalt, so we're talking about 2 feet narrower than our city standard, that they would have the right to build that without exception.
Have we done this already? Zone from maybe 1 or 2?
This is the first request to use the Haas overlay that we have received since approving the Haas ordinance. And that was a question that was brought up. So the ordinance to approve the Haas had to be its own ordinance number. And we approved the Haas ordinance, and it became part of our city code. Now, anytime someone comes in and wants to utilize that Haas ordinance, or use that Haas code at this point, the ordinance has a different number. And so each development that applies will have a different number, but all of them will go through the public hearing process, and the public will be made aware of the development.
So we would be creating a precedent as far as any future people want to do that, going to say, well, why let them do it, why not us?
Right, yeah, and that seems like a concern, and we always think about that. However, this is a legislative decision. So we have administrative and legislative decisions. Administrative decisions, as a planning commission, your role is simply to make sure it meets code, and then essentially you're required to pass a positive recommendation because they've met the standard. When we're talking about legislative decisions here, this is your prerogative, and each proposal is considered separately. So whatever you decide here does not set a precedence for further decisions.
Can I make a quick comment on that, just for all of our commissioners and for our comments here? I'll use an example that's very familiar to all of us in the county of car washes. A lot of chatter goes on when a new car wash is put in anywhere. It's been a very popular business that's gone in our county and neighboring counties over the last several years. And a lot of people say, why is the city letting all of these car washes in? Why is the county letting them do this? Why is that? When they have certain zoning in place in commercial areas, and a business comes in, if they meet all the criteria by law, that municipality or county organization is required to let that business go in there. And so that's just a quick clarification. That's something I learned more about and continuing to learn about, but we do have distinctions, as Ms. Whiteher mentioned, with legislative and administrative decisions. Do we have any other questions right now? Because we don't have to adopt the ordinance or pass along a negative recommendation. We can also table the recommendation so we can have more time for all of the things that we want to have answered, more time for staff review, and so on and so forth.
Angie, I did realize there was one comment I did want to address specifically. There were water issues about the detention basin.
Yes.
So just to understand, as a requirement of this development, we are requiring the developer to bring storm drain to this location. And so whenever, and this is just the subdivision process, when anyone develops a parcel of land, wherever it lays in the city, they are required to take care of whatever water lands on their land and make sure that it does not go anywhere around the property. Also, when there is headwater and tailwater, they have to make sure that that is not disrupted. So that will be piped, correct? Yes, the developer will be required to pipe that water, and then his requirement, so it is not going to be a retention basement or a basin where the water just sits there and could spill over to the neighbors. It's going to be a detention basin where it will have an outlet, and he's continuing, he'd be required to continue the storm drain to the city storm drain system. So no water would be able to overflow from that detention basin onto the neighboring properties. And that's just part of code during development.
Does Harrisville not require retention?
Just a reminder, we're not taking any additional public comments at this moment. So. Did you have any other questions for Randy Smith? Because we kind of cut that off earlier so we can get a public hearing vote.
So I have a quick just question, comment. So you mentioned that as far as our recommendation is concerned, we look at facts per se. Like, can this be done? Is it legal? Being able to do? You have all the I's dotted, T's crossed. So as far as for our recommendation, where does the weight of the people, the citizens, come in that we
Right.
Is it not considered?
So this is legislative, so you can take the citizens' concerns into consideration. If you feel that so I do have to say, we're actually not supposed to clap during public meetings, and so if everyone would refrain from clapping, I know it makes it fun and it's really exciting and uniting, but we're not supposed to. So.
You're destroying our phone.
I know, I'm spoiling all the fun, but so what part of the legislative process is that you do take into this in consideration what's been said, and you're allowed to for a legislative item. An administrative item you would not be able to, and we wouldn't hold a public hearing for an administrative item for that reason, because public comment cannot play into it. So in your approval or denial, I mean, reasons for denial could be that you feel it doesn't fit the community or however you feel. I do think it's important to take into consideration comments you've heard and also other contexts that you may have heard outside the meeting. It's okay to take any thoughts or concerns you have within the meeting or outside of the meeting.
So we do have a lot of comment to review, any personal notes that we took, and also we can review the official minutes later. So if commissioners are agreed, we can table this until next time, and we can make a motion to do so. That gives us more time to not feel rushed, not feel like we're doing anything out of line, so we can pay proper consideration to all of things. Okay. With that being said, I will entertain a motion to table the recommendation of Ordinance 569 land use amendments for further discussion. So can one of my fellow commissioners make that motion?
You have one now?
Yeah, I can do it. I will make a motion to table recommendation of ordinance 569 land use amendments for further discussion.
Can I get a second?
I second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That motion carries. Okay, item 6 on our agenda. We're going to be looking at preliminary plat approval for Dixon Creek Phase 2A, located at approximately 1243 North Washington Boulevard. And our applicant is Preston Mobius. Is with us? Oh, okay.
Thank you for coming. Let's just wait for a Go ahead.
Apparently it doesn't matter what we think. First
Ladies and gentlemen, could we please have you move out? If you don't plan on staying, so we can continue the meeting, thank you.
Did I say your last name correctly? I'm so used to your first name in 11 meetings. I'm like, I may have pronounced that.
It's Mobius.
Okay.
So yeah, my name is Preston Mobius with D.R. Horton. Thanks for the time today. A little back history into this because I don't know who necessarily was involved with Dixon Creek originally, but this is under the Master Development Agreement with townhomes in this location and City Park to the north and more commercial along Washington Boulevard. This phase 1 area here is currently being developed out. If you guys have driven by recently, essentially we were approved for the phase 2 portion, which half of it is being shown here. The plat never got recorded. We're working right now through with FEMA through the floodplain, which is being shown right here, this flood zone. All of the improvements to the land have been made. It's just a legal process with FEMA to get the LOMAR approval. We're hoping to expect that in the next couple months. Because phase 1, we're practically on our last building, almost the second to last building. We would like to proceed with phase 2 and start vertical construction on that portion. So we met with staff probably a month ago to propose breaking phase 2 up into 2 sub-phases. So this, what you're seeing here is phase 2A. It consists of 50 lots. Phase 2B will be coming at a later date once the FEMA gets approved. That will be the remaining lots of 44 lots. I think that's generally the high-level overview of the subdivision and kind of our application and purpose for your approval on this preliminary plat.
Thank you. Do we have any additional information, Jenny or Sarah?
Just, we didn't do a memo because it is pretty straightforward. They took lots out of the floodplain with the intention of once it's been cleared, they'll amend the plat again, but needed to go through this process of approval. So we have no issues with it.
Okay. Do we have any other questions?
Show me where the floodplain is that you're, the 2B would be.
Yeah, so essentially the Dixon Creek right now is up on this northern portion. A lot of improvements had to be done with the land and raise all of this out of the floodplain. So like I stated earlier, all of the infrastructure is in and the property's been essentially out of the floodplain. Now it's through the legal process with FEMA. We've gotten the CLOMAR, which is like the first step you go through. Now it's in the LOMAR process. So essentially the original floodplain is this hatched area, what's being shown here. This is a retention basin. Same with this. This was all done in phase 1. So basically the creek comes through here, through these channels, and then exits out over in that area there. Yeah.
I just want to make sure that everybody on the committee is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
if I could too, the county surveyor's office reviewed it. We've got the final review earlier today, so I shared that with the city engineer and Jenny as well. So we've kind of gone through that process too.
Thank you.
Yep, sounds good.
All right, if we don't have any other questions, yes, do you want to make that
I
motion?
would love to make
Commissioner
that
Moore?
motion. Yeah, I motion to grant preliminary plat approval for Dixon Creek Phase 2A located at approximately 1243 North Washington Boulevard, subject to Harrisville City Municipal Codes and any other staff or agency requirements.
Can we get a second?
I second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thanks, Preston.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 7 on our agenda today is a conditional use permit, permit number 156 for a farmer's market located at 607 West Harrisville Road. Okay, I'll just see if you're still here. Mr. Phil, if you'd like to come join us up in the front here.
Thank you.
I think.
You may have questions for me. Would you like me to explain what I?
Yes.
Yes.
Tell us what your vision is of this.
I got lots of big vision, but if it's doable or not. A couple months ago, there was a couple that came in, and they applied for a farmer's market permit, can I say? And anyway, and they live over in a subdivision, and anyway, they were given the go-ahead or a permit to do that. So, as some of you know, I farm, I do things. I raise cattle, hay, and then as of last year, I put in some tomatoes, and then I sold them out on the street. So, with that said, I sold a few other things, but that I raised. And so what I'd like to do is just do a farmer's market, which is on 607 West Harrisville Road. I did send in a picture from last year with that, with my application. That shows somewhat of a little stand, and I don't know, there's maybe a couple of you left here that may have seen it, or maybe you guys have seen it.
I'm not sure if I saw it.
It's in the file.
Sure. Okay.
But what I'd like to do is just continue to do it, to sell some vegetables and different things. And from what I heard from prior comments from, I'll just say citizens, so that's it right there. I did sell some straw as well, that was later in the season. That a farmer's market, and I've thought about it before, is to have a farmer's market in the area and kind of see how it went. When I was doing this last year, and I even did on your honor system because I couldn't always be there. So if you see the little bucket there next to the boxes, that's what that is. It's the honor system, and I tried that, which it worked. But I did have a few people that came by, and they wanted to know if I could take their product that they raised, their corn, some of their vegetables, different things that they had. And so by law, I couldn't do that. I can sell my product that I raised myself. But legally, I couldn't do that unless you're a farmer's market. And so that's why I'm opening this up, because I do have some neighbors that were close by that they have a few products that they would like to sell. And that possibly we could bring those in and have more items to sell. Also, the response from the public that I had last year was that they said, "This is great. This is good to see something like this in the area. We don't have to go clear to Willard to get it, or along
different areas, or I don't have to go to Smith's, this is better than Smith's, or whatever. I'm sorry, I shouldn't use Smith's maybe, but a grocery store, right? So that would just give me more ideas of what I could do. As far as a farmer's market or different things, or bring more into it. And it's more or less to do this and to see how it goes, to see what we can do, if it could grow, if it couldn't grow.
Hey, Mark, describe for me the area that you're talking about right here. So if several people were to come and bring their produce, would it be this dirt section that we're seeing right there? I mean, how big are we actually talking about?
There's close to a little over a half acre in there maybe. But if you drive by today, I've got equipment in there, I've got some pipe stored in there in the back part, those different things. So the front part, and I even had people that would come in and they would park in the front part. If I may step.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
You can step up to the screen.
So they could drive in, they'd come around, and they would park in this area behind the fence. So they would park in that area. So there was parking. I didn't have more than a couple people at one time during this. If other people came, my idea is that we would probably fill that front area more with, so you could, more visible, so you could see that area along there, and have, again, I don't know how big it might be. I don't expect it to be real big this year, but anyway, I could put it along on the back side of that fence, and then there would still be adequate parking behind there if they wanted to come in.
How about, I mean, I think it's a great idea, and it'd be great if it grew, but liability for you, is that start becoming an issue? You start getting a lot of people coming in on your land, and
It is. It's always, and as I farm as well, it's a big issue. How's that? And so this would be under what we have, Circle F Ranches LLC. So it's under an LLC. We're insured for that. I brought this up to my insurance agent as well, as far as covering that. And I told him what I was doing, and it's covered under a farmer's market as far as a fruit stand. And so he actually last year added that into my policy. Unfortunately, that I paid for that for a year, and I only used it a few months, but that's one thing. There's always a risk to some of these things you do. I even hate to go down the road with my equipment, and you know, there's kids on bikes and different things when I'm bringing my tractors or equipment, or even cutting next to a subdivision. That's one of my scarier moments, is if I had one of the kids out there when I'm cutting hay. So yes, it's a good question. There is those concerns as well.
So, would they be setting up booths and stuff, or is it just bringing their?
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Oh, no, go ahead.
It's on its
Just
feet.
speak right to the middle.
Would they be setting up booths, or would it be after the truck? You know, that would be the truck.
Well, I'm not really sure until we kind of get this going. It could be just tables. They may only come once a week. I'm not really sure until I get the approval to go ahead. I just mentioned it to a few people if they wanted to come and do this. The couple that was in here a few months ago, I did talk to them, and they said, well, this would be a better location than we have, and we would like to come and participate in that. So whether we just set up tables, or if they set up their own booths or
something. I can't really give you that answer
That's
until.
fine, thank you. Well, let's pause for just a minute and go over some highlights from city staff. Just some responses to the permit. We do have a city planner memo from June 3rd. Sarah, do you want to review that with us?
Sure, I won't go over it too much.
That's fine, even just the highlights would be great.
So my biggest concern is that the request is for a small farm stand. And currently, and so what I see on the screen, I think would be permissible. Just are looking at the code for, nothing in the application mentions selling produce, other people being involved in this, and so I haven't considered that. I just know currently in our code it says the special regulations for agricultural accessory structures require that, I'm trying to see.
Are those permanent structures?
Or temporary, I think it's 100 square feet on agricultural, only 100, yeah, let's see. Transparent structure in the properties, I just read it, I'm so sorry, I'm lost in my own writing. Oh, there it is. It says, provided that it's no larger than 100 square feet and is placed only during the harvest time. So this I can see complying. I'd have to look more at the code and see what could be allowed if we're looking at more of a farmer's market situation on an agricultural piece. We might have to go through a different avenue to make this happen. So I don't know.
It sounds like we have a distinction between a personal farm stand versus a multi-vendor farmer's market. So we probably do need more time.
Probably to table this, and then I can meet with you and we can see if there is an avenue in the code on an agricultural parcel to make this happen. I'm just not as familiar with that, because that's not what I was prepared for. I apologize. Yes. We just have the concern of having retail operations in residential zones. This is a larger density, so I just need to look at the code and see if there is an avenue that can accommodate this. I'm not sure.
Maybe a business license.
Well, definitely a business license and a conditional use permit, possibly, but we just need to look at where it's an agricultural, farm-related. I will just have to look and see how we can get that, other than this one avenue doesn't permit it, but I would like to look and see what we can do.
So do you have that code?
Oh, I will give this to you, it's in my memo.
I guess, does Harrisville have a code?
Yes, so the basis for issuance of a commercial use permit, it's 11-18-05, and then the one specific to the agricultural accessory is 11-10-02.
Would there be anything in our code right now to prohibit us from doing something, say, in the city park?
Oh, a farmer's market on public property? Not that I know of, but I would need to look into it.
That's great, because ultimately that's where I would like to take us.
We could grant this conditional use permit as is, but you would be limited to your own produce as what you're doing currently. So we could grant this one and then look into a different avenue, or we could table it and then see if you want to change it to a different application that allows for more uses.
Do you have a preference?
Pardon me?
Do you have a preference if we approve this one for your own personal use and then have another one once we get more information? You'd have a secondary.
This may be good to start the wave.
To do what? Say that again?
To start the wave, to start the motion moving towards.
I get that. So I'm going to go back to, or what would be the other option as far as what for a permit?
So we could today grant a conditional use permit for you to continue to have your own personal farm stand. And then we could start looking into expanding it into a farmer's market and see if there's a way to expand it. So you would be able to use it for your own personal use once we grant this conditional use permit, but you would not be able to include other people on this particular conditional use permit. We'd have to look at another permit to expand it to others.
So we can approve the single use, or we can table the whole thing for a month while we get more information if you want to only pursue multiple people selling at the same place.
But we don't have any codes for that. Is that right?
I wasn't prepared, so I don't know. I'd have to look and see. I'm not positive right now what is available, but I'm willing to definitely dig in and see what we can do.
Yeah, this is unique.
We'll look at city and county.
So
That's what
the
staff
city
will
may
do.
need to catch up with some of your entrepreneurial vision here.
Well, and yeah, I mean, this, depending on whether, how this went or something, then we went further on to, Harrisville or city properties or something like that. So I would just ask that you table this then, and let's look at other options or what we could do to involve more of the residents and the community within the area, because that was my purpose.
Okay.
And because of the response that I was getting from a lot of the residents around is to come and participate in that, because I did have a pretty good location.
You've got a great location.
That's awesome.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah, but
Okay.
just the enthusiasm from the community is good.
Well, I find it interesting because I recall years back there was a attempt to do a farmer's market, and I went one time with nobody there. So now they want. I don't know if it's because of the location or because people just didn't want to go to this park.
Whatever it is.
Whatever works, that's great.
Let's have one of our commissioners make a motion to table. I'll entertain that.
I'll motion to table conditional use permit number 156 for a farmer's market located at 607 West Harrisville Road, based on the commissioner's discretion.
Can I get a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
So
Mark.
that's here for next time. Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, we now have our time for public comments. If we have any additional public comments.
I'll sit here.
Same rules apply. 3 minutes or less, please. And if you'll just state your name and address for us again, that's helpful.
Okay, Shannon Edwards, 1068 North Harrisville Road. And I just want to thank all of you for all the work that you do. And I worked with the Planning Commission for years, and it is a lot of work. And thank you for listening to the residents. And we appreciate what you do. Thank you. And
Thank you.
staff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll second Shannon's motion. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna get back up again, but Marvin Farrell, 2470 North, 750 West. I had to get back up again because with the proposal of when Randy was up here in the proposal of the, I'm gonna say the Fowler's property, I'd just like you to know that I am running that property, meaning that I am cutting the hay on it. They've asked me to take care of it, and graciously they've worked very well with me in taking care of it, and I've even had some really good discussions with Randy to try to help him along. I'm very involved with farming, and I mean, I would love to see it here, so I kind of shoot myself in the foot a little bit with the developer, but I'd like you to just understand that it puts me in a very difficult situation, because I want to see both sides. We have to have places for our kids to go. We have to have places and new people as far as the city, your requirements for, can I say affordable housing?
Attainable.
Attainable, I'm sorry, I'm not used to this word. So attainable, which I've got grandkids coming into the same situation. And so we need some of these things. We need some of these in place. One of the water issues that was talked about is because the irrigation water does come down. We do have a high water table in that area. The retention pond or what whatever that is going to be right in that general area, right where the low spot is, where it affected Warren Child. So possibly maybe there's some other options to look at there for that. But it's this is coming. You guys see it every day or every month or however you want to look at it. And so just I'm going to ask just again to try to make those the good decisions and look at the laws and different things that play into this, which Shannon's gone over that very well and tried to cover those things to make sure that we can keep Harrisville like the residents have talked about. And I do appreciate you being here and taking your time to be here. And it's this is something that you're giving out of your time and all of you. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if we don't have further public comments, we are going to move on to item 9, commission and staff follow-up. Is there anything that we have from staff that we need to go over?
Nothing in particular, but I do have one comment to kind of ponder. Tonight when we had public comment, think about how many residents got their homes from their parents that were Harrisville residents, and how many purchased their homes recently that were not Harrisville residents, and that had made money somewhere else, Salt Lake, out of state, and then were able to afford the large parcels in Harrisville City. That is my concern for Harrisville. So the trends we're seeing is that these large parcels, unless they're inherited, are not going to the residents of these small communities. And that is the overall concern of staff and why we are proposing these developments. And I'm not saying this development particularly needs to move forward, but overall it is a concern that I have as a planner.
Thank you. Do you have any other questions from our commissioners? Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I second that.
How about you make the motion?
I'd like to make the motion to adjourn.
Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.